Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and we are very, very happy to have some longtime friends of mine in the studio. What a surprise. We'll get to Patty Chavez in a second over here. We're joined by SEAL and the San Diego County Office of Education. Martha Martinez is the head of research and evaluation for SEAL. How you doing, Martha?
I'm doing great, thanks.
What does SEAL stand for?
SEAL stands for Sobrato Early Academic Language, and we're an organization, nonprofit, that's based in California, and we serve preschool through elementary school educators.
That's fantastic. And joined by a colleague who's the Senior Director of Multilingual Education and Global Achievement Department at the San Diego County Office of Education, Izela, Jacobo. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Izela, Jacobo, thank you.
Okay, very, very good. And how long have you been with the county?
I'm on my 5th year.
Okay.
Yes.
Have you been on the Hill the whole time in the central office?
I have.
Very, very good. And so things are rocking and rolling over there. We worked very closely with Paul Gothold, and now Gloria has joined one of the groups that I've been heavily involved in since it started in 1997, the Classroom of the Future Foundation. So we're thrilled with this. And a surprise guest, at least surprise to me, Patty Chavez. I've known Patty, we won't say how long, Patty, we've known each other, but you don't age, and I do, quite obviously.
Yeah, it's when we were skipping along and having fun.
We were skipping along. We're still skipping along and having fun. Patty's the head of external relations for SEAL. But I was at one point, as Patty knows, because I think she joined that board, was the chair of the Sweetwater Education Foundation. And the focus was to raise money for the Compact for Success. And so those kids did a great job in Sweetwater, making sure they could qualify for admission into San Diego State. The challenge was, do they have the funds to go to San Diego State? So that's what we did. So we'll start with you, Martha. What's the mission of SEAL?
Gosh, I wish you'd start with Patty. She's so good at this. And it is great to have her joining us here.
And Patty's great.
Yeah. So we actually work with, as I mentioned, preschool through elementary school educators. And we primarily provide expertise on how you best educate multilingual learners. Those are students then that come to school with a language other than English in their background.
And that's their primary language when they come into school?
Yeah, it is another language. I would say there's some students actually that have several languages at play at home, right?
Right.
And so there's a process that happens in schools where you fill out a home language survey. I was just chatting with someone in the lobby about this. You fill out a home language survey and you indicate if there's a language other than English in the home. And then there's a whole process. They assess the students, determine if they have sufficient English proficiency. If they are deemed then that they don't, then they're classified as an English learner in the K-12 system. And they are entitled to and supposed to receive some specific services to help them become English proficient. And what we're about is not just becoming English proficient, but really maintaining that second language, hopefully, at least, and that they become bilingual, biliterate.
Right, exactly. So how many languages are spoke in San Diego County? Is that about like 4 million of them? Not quite 4 million.
We have most definitely over 100.
Right.
So we're very proud of the diversity in our region. We know that as the state, the most spoken language in San Diego is Spanish. But we're also very proud to say that in our county, we also have large communities of Arabic-speaking students. We have Vietnamese, we have Tagalog, amongst others.
Yeah, when I'm dating myself now, but when I worked for San Diego Unified, I think that's when Patty might have first met me. I did a lot of work in ELEPs, English, very limited English proficient students. probably not even called ELEPs anymore, but that's back in the day. And it was when a lot of the people had come over from Vietnam. So we had the Hmong and the Cambodians, the Laotians, and so that was an interesting time and a very cool time. I was just absolutely just so honored to work with folks like Tim Allen. If you remember Tim was the director of ESL at the time, and Christina Flores was working there. And so just a great division. And I think what's so important about it, just getting people to understand. Now, mind you, this is in the early 80s, okay? So things have changed quite a bit there. So important. Patty, how did you get involved with SEAL?
How lucky am I, right?
You're very lucky, and they're lucky to have you,
It's one of those blessings that happen. We've been in education a long time, but the opportunity to celebrate multilingualism and to support teachers. You and I have been working in the community a long time. There's a lot of support, thank goodness, for families and students, but the support for teachers, not so much all the time. So the opportunity to jump on board and help our teachers so that they can, support their students. But my favorite part of this is when I spoke to them, they said, we're bringing joy into the classroom. And I thought, that's students and teachers deserve that joy and the rigor. So be able to provide them support that they can respond to our beautiful, diverse state. And create that future that we were talking about when we first started, to get the kids into colleges, to get them
100%.
prosperous. And we know they need multilingualism for the future. So this is how we need to start it.
Yeah, we all need it. We all need to learn just how we grow from our different cultures. Are you kidding me? I mean, I'm speaking in the language of you guys here. That's not earth-shaking, shattering to you. Maybe some other folks in this world that need to learn and understand that. But doggone it, that's what we're going to do, and we're going to forge forward on it. So Martha, you folks have been in business for how long, SEAL?
Gosh,
Well, we started 16 years ago.
Thank you.
And 5 years ago, we became an independent nonprofit. So we started out as an opportunity to look at various schools, and Martha heads up research. So it was really about creating a process that was going to be backed by research and evidence-based. And they have done amazing work to see the academic progress, but also the retention for teachers. Who have a really challenging time, and the environment, everything that's happening impacts teachers. So we saw such success, and now we're statewide, implemented in various districts across the state.
Yeah, and I think what's great about that, Martha, we love talking about data on the show, and you're a data person because of research, to say at least, and not that Patty and Izela are not. But when things are data-driven and you focus on that, it's so critical to talk about how important that is to SEAL.
Well, it's incredibly important, especially to be, working in California, right? So we have the largest, along with Texas, really. We go back and forth about which one has the largest EL population. But there's like 20% of the student body that in California is classified as an English learner. So this is the future of California, is really to embrace multilingualism and figure out how to do this properly. And we're just coming out of this period where it was English only. We had a ballot measure that prevented actually the English learners in particular from then being in bilingual programs. And so now what we're trying to do, once Prop 58 was passed, is really embrace then bilingualism again. But that means catching up because there was a lot of programs then, bilingual teaching programs, that closed as a result of that. So we've got a real lack of bilingually qualified, certified teachers then to teach this huge population in California.
Right. So there's a shortage, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But it always amazes me. You see, okay, you go to Europe, right? You guys know this. So they're learning right out of the gate. They were natural language, whether it's French, whether it's Russian, whatever. Then we'll throw in a little bit of English and maybe some German, and now they've got 3 languages, and they're 8 years old, for God's sake, right? And not waiting until they're in 9th grade to do it, like a lot of us in that area. Is that ever going to change where we just, why don't we teach these languages right now?
Right. It is changing. It's changing across the country, right?
Okay,
So there's
good.
much more of an
Good.
embrace of dual language immersion,
Sure.
bilingual programs. There's
Early.
a lot of research, right,
Yeah.
that's been showing that
Yeah.
that there's cognitive benefits to this, in addition to the economic benefits that you receive. For our students then that come in with a language other than English, we'll see that if they are in these type of programs, they tend to outperform than their peers. So there are academic benefits to these programs. So there is, I would say, much more of an understanding of the benefits for everyone. And as a result, there's a massive growth in popularity, not just in California, but across the country.
As it should be, without question. In this, I know when I was going to school, I wish I knew some of these languages. And it's not wait till I was in ninth grade, and then college when I picked up French, which I can't speak one word of French except for je ne sais pas. That's what I'm good at that. Je ne comprends pas. I can do that. So if we have any French people out there, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. We're chatting with our friends from SEAL in the San Diego County Office of Education. We got Martha, Izela, and Patty Chavez. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're now in our 19th year. Brought to you by the very, very cool folks at Mission Fed Credit Union. Been doing great things for 6 decades in our region, whether it's food insecurity, whether it's literacy, whether it's the arts. They just do a terrific job. So I'll talk about, the partnership you have with SEAL and with other organizations as well.
Yeah, so thank you for the opportunity.
Please.
Our partnership with SEAL has been extremely meaningful and important in the work that we do here in the San Diego County. It actually started back in 2020 through a state grant that Californians Together was awarded. In their efforts, they partnered with SEAL, and that has brought to us opportunities for very high quality professional development across the state. But again, also here in the San Diego County, one of the things we appreciate about the approach that SEAL takes to professional development is that it's not a one-stop and done, but it's professional development that it's combined with communities of practice and coaching. The people who are providing the professional development are people who are practitioners in the field or have been practitioners in the field. And one of the things that really drives me to continue this partnership and hopefully past the current grant is that approach that they take to cultural and linguistically responsiveness. So not only they're preparing our teachers with the strategies and the approaches, but everything they do is around celebrating the many gifts that our multilingual learners bring to the classroom, their language, their heritage, their stories, their families. I can't say that that's true for all professional development. So from the minute they start, everything is centered around the importance of valuing our students and their stories, their culture, and their language. And we know that with our new policy in the state, the English Learner Roadmap policy, that is most definitely one of the guiding principles. We want most definitely to have all of our students be proficient in English, but we also recognize the importance of multilingualism, and we want to elevate that. So in our partnership with SEAL, we've been able to bring to our region professional development that not only focuses on the English language development, which is so critical and needed, but also on opportunities, again, to prepare our teachers to continue to nurture the languages that our students bring, continuing to expand on those languages. And as my colleagues mentioned, we want our kids to not only be proficient in English and in their home language, but why not other languages? So all of that and more is what we've found in our partnership with SEAL.
Well, I think people have amnesia. They tend to forget how our country was founded. Not too tough to figure that out, right? And it was the cultures of people coming from all over the world that blended together. And hey, we actually there were some issues. There's no question about it, but when we all find out that we have common goals, we want our families to be safe. We want them to be well fed. We want them to learn. They want them to survive. We want them to have good jobs. And heaven forbid, when we work with each other, that happens. When we come back, let's chat about, I'll start with you on that, Patty. We always save time. What can our listeners do to help support what's going on with SEAL and certainly the County Office of Education? And maybe, Martha, you can talk a little bit about parents and what role they play in this as well. And then to you, Izela, the community. Listen, we're all in this together. If we're not rowing in the same direction, then we're rowing in opposite directions. So, talk about what our businesses can do at nonprofits like the Classroom of the Future Foundation and so forth. And when we return with a conversation with SEAL and the San Diego County Office of Education, I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, chatting with our friends from SEAL and the San Diego County Office of Education. Patty Chavez, been a longtime friend and colleague of mine. I'll just say decades. How's that sound? Right? We'll leave it at that. And is the head of external relations for SEAL. So what can we do? What can our listeners do that can continue the trajectory of SEAL and working with our friends at the County Office of Education?
Let's celebrate multilingualism and embrace it. I think there's still a lot of misconceptions out there. 40% of students in California live in a home where there's another language other than English spoken. Imagine what we can do. California is a leader, but it has to start by celebrating it and embracing it. And I think that's where we look at policy and we look at funding, because our teachers do need our support. And but it really is going to come from demand and from appreciation and love. So I think that's what we need to do.
Patty, you've worked certainly with a lot of the groups over the years, and certainly you're very well versed in our politics in San Diego County. From San Ysidro to Fallbrook to, the coast and the East County. And so I got to imagine that, and they should, certainly our county supervisors and definitely the city council folks in the different cities have got to be supportive of this, are they not?
I think it's one of those bipartisan issues. We see it, but it's also creating priority for it. Like you said, we shouldn't be starting in 9th grade. We really need to start early. And there is a demand, but the challenge is that there's a low supply. There's a supply of teachers, and that's because of the policy that happened. And now we're trying to catch up. Right.
Well, hopefully we're going to do that. And Martha, what's the best way? What's the how do we get the schools of education, or is it working with other entities to say this is our shortage, this is what we need to do, and here's how we need to get there?
Excuse me. Well, we have one opportunity that's in the midst right now, right?
Yeah.
So the state provided a grant to increase the supply of bilingual teachers. So you were saying earlier, what can can we do to support SEAL in the San Diego County Office of Education? It's actually what can we do to support then this increasing how we increase the supply. So we have opportunities available for teachers to become certified bilingual, get their bilingual certification, and they're free, right? So they're grant provided opportunities. So we definitely want to get the word out about that for people to check out our website for more information, seal.org, SEAL .org, to come to our website and find out more about these opportunities so that we can start meeting this demand.
Right. Are there other ways of, looking at this? And again, speaking from someone who worked for San Diego Unified a long time ago, and I'm sure Izela would agree with me. Sometimes, folks in education, I was one of them, get buried a little bit in some of these things. Say, we got to sit there and take some of these the guards off of this stuff. So, question being, is there a way of using folks that don't have a teaching credential to help support in the things you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, that's actually part of the grant too.
Okay.
So it provides opportunities then for teachers who already have their certification, but to teach, but not a bilingual authorization, to get their bilingual authorization. And then it also provides opportunities for people who have another language and they want to get their teaching credential and their bilingual authorization. So there's opportunities for those folks as well. So we definitely want to take advantage of the language diversity, the language richness that's out there, and get people teaching in our classrooms.
Yeah, because I imagine there's, as you mentioned, there's so many folks that Tagalog, if I'm not mistaken, is the number 3 language spoken in San Diego County. Filipino people would know that, but the diversity is huge. I think over 100 languages you mentioned, Izela, that are spoken here, and there's got to be folks that would love to sit there and come in the classroom or do whatever the case may be to bring this up. So talk about the partners that you have. Obviously SEAL is one of them, but what businesses do you work with? What businesses should be supporting you in what you're trying to do?
So, as far as businesses and support, I think going back to some of the points that my colleagues made, I think it's absolutely critical that we hear from our communities as to why it is that our population needs to continue to stay multilingual or become multilingual. We live in a very bilingual, bicultural area here in San Diego. We know that a workforce that is bilingual serves not only on this side of the border, but the other side of the border. You were talking earlier about keeping our genius and our skills here, and we're all for that, but we also recognize that multilingualism is preparing our kids for that global world and giving them opportunities to go outside of our region, hopefully. We have strong partnerships not only with SEAL, but with our local universities, and continuing to feed into that pipeline that my colleagues mentioned is in need of more teachers. When it comes to support, I think in listening to those who are doing the work in our communities, whether they're classified, interested in becoming certificated, or certificated without the authorization to teach in a bilingual environment, what we hear is the constraints of economics. So if you're serving already in whatever role, and every role is important, there's often lack of financial support for you to go back to school while you need to take care of your kids after school. There's lack of support in paying the cost to go back and earn your credential or your authorization. So what we've learned in the work that we've been doing most recently with partners like Californians Together and Chavez, SEAL, our local universities, is we have a need for more grants that help us supplement the income of those who I already mentioned in order to keep him and bring him back to, or bring him into the teaching profession.
Yeah, I think, again, can't talk about this enough. And what's great about all the guests we've had on our show today, it's been a wonderful opportunity for me to invite everyone back in and then bring in, some of the folks that have just started to work with you in SEAL and get some of these credentials. And the ones that, the question I think I was going to ask you, Martha, how are the parents embracing this?
Parents are embracing it. So I think there's a growing awareness as well amongst parents who are non-English, like
Right.
have a non-English background, that there's a value in keeping then that other language. That's still a message that we try to really reinforce because there is a strong desire to learn. There's a real recognition that English is the way, right? So there is a strong interest in their students then becoming English proficient, but
Absolutely.
we want them to keep that amazing, rich language because it will serve them in the long term. And the forces are really strong at play to help kind of distinguish or extinguish, right, the home language. Home language loss is a very real thing
Right.
in communities. So it's important to hang on to that language for both just the connection to community, the connection to family, but as well as just what it provides you for your future.
Yeah, we all know that. And it was interesting, Izela, you were talking about. Listen, we are one region, as far as I'm concerned, San Diego, Tijuana. Much has been talked about this for many, many, many years. It's the richest border region in the world. We have so much connectivity between us, and we do some great things that certainly enhance that region. We do some things that we should do better. Patty knows this all so well. She spent a lot of time working in those types of things. I'm going to go around the room over here and ask for final comments on what our listeners can do, and we'll start with you, Izela.
Well, I think that given our current environment, I think that the more people are asking for multilingual opportunities in our schools, community members and businesses asking questions from districts as far as how can we support current bilingual education programs and how can we continue to grow them. I think that it's critical that our community asks for more of our students earning the state seal of biliteracy, which is available in our county in many different languages, but we would like to be able to reach more students in our community. Businesses honoring and putting value behind that state seal of biliteracy as they're creating internships for students, for example. So my call to action today is that we continue to be strong champions of multilingualism, recognizing that speaking multiple languages is a global competency that needs to be valued, not only in our region, but across the globe. So my call to action again is even if you don't speak another language, if you're English fluent, we still need you. We need you in the classroom because every dual language classroom has not only a teacher who's proficient in the other language, but also we need, as my colleague was saying, English proficiency. So San Diego State is a local university that has developed a certificate for dual language partners, it's called, and that welcomes everyone who, even if you don't speak another language, if you believe in the power of multilingualism, and we need more people like that in our community, you can have our role in bilingual education.
Yeah, I think all three of you inspired me. I'm going to mention this to my colleague, Charles Parisi, and see if he faints when I bring this up on air, is maybe we should do a first multilingual podcast. And so we will have, I'll do the English, and maybe that's even questionable, have someone do the Spanish and have someone do Tagalog. And we'll do it, and we'll focus on, a topic that we can all speak about. And what do you think of that idea?
Love it.
I think it's fantastic.
A harebrained idea that Drew usually comes up with. We're going to make that happen.
Yeah.
We're going to make that happen, and I'll be calling on you folks to help us with that. Patty, before I turn it over to Martha for her last comments, what can we say to our audience?
Drew, this has been fun. You just every time you're just so inspirational.
You're very kind.
For our business leaders and our policymakers out there, we need to be intentional as well. So as we're writing these initiatives and writing these policies, that there are literal words in there that say multilingual. because that's the way we're going to move forward. And then for everyone listening, SEAL is also about sharing our knowledge. So please visit our website, seal.org, SEAL.org. We have lots of publications, lots of data, lots of stories. Please come. We want to be a support to you and a partner to everyone out there who is supporting and championing education.
That's great. Very good. Martha?
I guess I just want to say that SEAL participated in the last bilingual teacher professional development grant as well. And we had some lessons learned in that. And part of that work involved trying to encourage students who are in high school in the SEAL of biliteracy kind of pathways to continue on, right, and become bilingual teachers. And there was one county Office of Ed person that we worked with that was saying, I'm really struggling to encourage these students actually to pursue a teaching career. He's like, teaching is really maligned, and the kids just don't want to do that. And he said, we need a public education campaign around this amazing profession, right? The honor of the profession and the incredible power of an educator. And we need bilingual educators then that are coming through the ranks. We need children to be inspired to come back to the classroom and to bring that their whole self, right, to the classroom, because that's what education is. Education really is about our connection to one another, our knowledge of one another, and our knowledge of the world. So how do we make then that knowledge, that's what we're about, right? That we recognize that is what is the importance of being human, and it is the importance about connecting with one another. So I hope that we inspire some students then to also think about education as their career, whether that be in the classroom, they become maybe administrators, maybe they go into higher ed. There's lots of opportunities, and it is a noble profession, and it is an incredibly important profession.
Yeah, it really is. My daughter's a fourth grade teacher in the Poway Unified School District in Chaparral, and she was just showing me something that we're going through. We're doing spring cleaning like every single day for the next 15 years, for God's sake, And she found something that she was 8 years old, and she wrote on it, "I want to be a teacher." Oh my goodness! And she showed. I go, "I don't remember you writing that," and she did. And you're right. And there's not a better, more noble profession, because we all know those teachers that have inspired us. One of mine in 8th grade inspired me to be a sports writer, and so forth. We all have those stories. So Martha and Patty, we will have you back on. I'm going to talk to my business partner, Charles Parisi. We're going to do a multilingual podcast. He just fainted, but it's okay. We'll revive him right now with some smelling salts. And I think that would be great. And we can do enough to continue this conversation. So I'll give my best to Gloria. Tell her Drew says hi. Patty, we'll exchange numbers and we will connect shortly after this podcast. And Martha, whatever we can do for us, just let us know. I'm Drew Schlosberg. We're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast, now in our 19th year. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, 6 decades of doing great things for people in San Diego County. We hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.